Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to show you my 11th game on Lichessladders. I rejoined the ladder today and I finally got to challenge someone. Usually I'm the one getting challenged because I forget. This is only my second game with white, and I was playing an opponent called LordAkali, rated 2095. I had a bit of time to prepare. I looked at what he does against d4, what he does against e4, and I have to say I wasn't really happy going into a sharp Sicilian with... I was going to go knight c3 and then a6, or a Benko gambit where I wouldn't accept the gambit, but I have something prepared for tournament games which I didn't want to use for this. So I've decided to go c4. And I did a bit of prep, but nothing that I had expected actually happened in the game. So let's have a look at it. I played c4, and my opponent played c5. I do several different things against the symmetrical English, but I don't really have that much experience yet. So I played knight c3. And after knight c6, I went g3, which is fairly standard. My opponent went g6, and now I think I messed up the move order. I played e4 here, and when I was briefly going over the game, I saw that e4 in this exact position is almost never played, but it's fine to transpose to the Botvinnik. There are 600 games from this position, so it's perfectly fine. And I was going to play the Botvinnik system. My opponent played bishop g7. My opponent didn't play bishop g7, which is by far the main move. Instead, he played d6. And now again we're transposing into... I don't even know what to call this, whether it's a symmetrical English or just a Botvinnik system. In any case, we reached the position where after knight g2, my opponent played e5. This is a very, very rare case of a double Botvinnik, and I don't think I've ever played this. I don't think I've seen it too often. There is a game between Vadim Milov and Emil Sutovsky, who I believe is the current FIDE CEO, where white won from this position, and I think that was an interesting game. I had a look at it as soon as I'd finished my game. So I castled here. I also could have gone d3. My opponent played knight g7, I went d3, and now we have a perfectly symmetrical position. This is now just, no imbalances at all. And I do have some experience in the Botvinnik system, and in most cases when white plays the Botvinnik, black cannot easily go f5 because they have a knight on f6. In this case, black can go f5, and I wasn't familiar with this exact position, but I played very quickly. As you can see, I have an hour and 2 minutes on the clock. So does my opponent. And I played the move rook b1 here, which is a good move. The main move is a3, followed by bishop e3. Of course, there is no knight on f6, so you don't have to fear knight g4. And then rook b1 is the third most common move. f4 is also playable. If you turn on the engine says a3 is best or rook b1 is best. So my move is technically the best move. And now my opponent played f5 after he taught for 2 minutes. And normally in the King's Indian, or I don't know, the Spanish, let's say, when black plays f5, usually you take it. And you can take it here. The engine says taking is fine. My move is also fine. I played a3 because, realistically speaking, if my opponent plays f5, I have the option to liberate my bishop. So for the rest of the game after f5, I was playing for a more active bishop on g2 in comparison to the bishop on g7. Because now I can open up my bishop. He can never open up his, as long as I don't play f4. And a3 threatens to go b4. So, if I go b4, then of course I will have achieved the main pawn break. So he played a5, which the engine suggests as one of the best moves. I don't know whether any alternatives are possible for a human of our level. I mean, b4 is a very direct threat, so a5 makes a lot of sense to me. The engine says h6 is best, followed by bishop e6. But if you play something like bishop e6, and I go b4, then what happens here? The engine says this is good for black after f4, giving up a pawn. Apparently, this tempo with bishop e6 is going to be crucial to break through to my king. So I would have had to be careful here. But in any case, after a3, my opponent did play a5, which I think is the human move, but it has a very clear downside. It gives away the b5 square. So there were 5 games from here, one with knight d5, one with ef5, one with bishop e3, and one with bishop g5. Before we get on to those, I just want to say that after a3, I'm not really scared of f4, nor am I scared of taking, because I mean, I can recapture either way, but I would have recaptured with the knight, just, you know, putting pressure on d6. I do have to watch out for d5, so for example, if takes, takes. If d5, I have knight c5. So all of this is much scarier after b6. Before b6, it's not scary. So a5. And knight b5 is the first new position, never played before. Now, my opponent played fe4, which is the best move, and I couldn't decide what to recapture with, but I ended up taking with the bishop because I don't really want to allow knight d4 when, if I recapture, my opponent's going to have a protected passed pawn. So I definitely want to keep my pawn on d3. That was my conclusion after a short think. And after bishop f5, again, I don't want to play d4 ever. So I played knight ec3. And now the problem for my opponent is, if they ever play knight d4, that hangs the b7 pawn. So, you know, you have to do something. So he played rook b8. Now this is plus 0.5 according to the engine. And I couldn't decide whether I should go bishop g2, bishop g5, or bishop e3. And I'm not sure I want to trade the bishops. So, you know, ideally I want to retreat my bishop back. But I also want to play bishop g5 so that I can go knight d5. In the end, I played bishop e3 because I wasn't sure about bishop g5 and whether my opponent could go h6, g5. In any case, b6. Now d5 is becoming serious, and I have to watch out for d5, so I played bishop g2, and it also avoids the trade. My opponent played h6, and here I made the only significant mistake in the game, because I had miscalculated. So at this point, I have 55 minutes on the clock. I have plenty of time. There were numerous good moves, such as knight d5, or simply rook e1. f4, I'm not sure about f4. Queen d2 is playable, but I am slightly worried about knight b3. That sort of forces me to trade, which is fine. I have knight d5 followed by bishop takes d5. But I blundered. I mean, it's not a huge difference. White is still fine. Black has a small advantage. But knight e4 is a simple miscalculation. So of course this allows d5, because my knight isn't on d5 and my bishop isn't on d5. And I thought if d5, I can go knight d6, which is true. cd5 is the best move, but I would have played knight d6. And now my opponent's bishop has to move. If it takes on c4, I cannot take back because my rook hangs. So I take on f5, my opponent takes on f5, I take on c4, and then f4 happens. And I thought this was just good for me. Apparently, it's just equal, or slightly better for black. However, if black doesn't take on c4, there's an even stronger move, bishop e6. And this I didn't consider at all. If bishop e6, I probably have to take on d5. Probably my opponent takes with the knight. And now, sure, my knight has a lot of good squares, and I have bishop e4, but I don't really have anything. I have this weak pawn on d3, and my position is just bad. On knight e4, though, my opponent made a huge mistake. He played knight c8. And this is kind of the move I was hoping for, and d5 was the obvious move, which, you know, if he played it, I would have done something. And now I was trying to figure out whether knight c5 straight away works, but it doesn't. If knight c5, dc5, bishop c6, there's bishop d3. There's queen d3. On bishop d3, there's bishop d5 check and the bishop hangs. Let me just show you that. So takes, takes, takes. If bishop d3, there's bishop d5 check and this bishop hangs. But there's queen d3. And now c4 is hanging, so I have to throw in bishop d5. And now my exchange is hanging. So once the king moves away, I have to play something like rook c1. Seems okay, but I think I found a stronger move. I don't think knight c5 works straight away. The engine says on knight c5, it's plus 0.4. So it's okay. But I played the stronger move. I played g4. And the reason g4 is so good, this is my favorite move in the game, is if the bishop goes back to d7, I'm going to take on d6. If the bishop goes to e6, now I'm going to take on c5, because d3 isn't double attacked, and I can simply play bishop takes c6 without any consequences. And if the bishop takes on e4, then we have a double attack on the knight and on the g-pawn. And after knight, either knight to e7, I don't know which knight goes to e7, let's say this one, I can eventually take on c6 if this knight moves. And if the other knight goes to e7, then where's this knight going? So this just seemed like a huge advantage to me. The engine says +2, so my analysis was correct. So after g4, my opponent decided to retreat the bishop, bishop e6. Now I just win a clean pawn, so knight c5. I should say though, the engine says knight c5 is a mistake. I played it instantly, just knight c5, because why not? And now it says it's equal after bc5. I hadn't considered bc5 at all. I don't know why not, but apparently bc5 is much stronger than dc5. Sure. I still don't see why. It says knight e7, and then the bishop drops back. d5 can be played, queen d7 can be played, g4 is hanging. I can see why it's uncomfortable, but I don't see why it wouldn't be uncomfortable with the pawn on b6 as well. Doesn't make too much sense to me. I just played knight c5 thinking, okay, that's it. So my opponent played dc5, which apparently is much worse. I took my piece back. He played queen h4. Now I have to defend g4. Ideally, I would like to play knight c7 because the bishop hangs. But I have to play f3 first because bishop g4 is with tempo. And now my opponent blundered the game away. He played h5. I don't really know what to suggest because it's really almost winning for white at this point. It's +1.5, but after my opponent's next move, it's just game over. I played knight c7, and this is a double attack. It attacks the bishop, and it also threatens knight a6, winning an exchange. So bishop f7 seems to be the only sensible move. But after bishop f7, I go knight a6, and my opponent is down too much material. You cannot afford hg4 because I can just take on b8. In the game, after knight c7, my opponent took on g4, which doesn't make sense. So I took the bishop. He played g3, threatening mate in 1, queen e2, defending, and now I'm just up a piece. He played rook f6, bishop d5, knight e7, bishop g5, and the game is over. This forces a queen trade with queen h2. So queen h2, gh2 check, king h2. He played knight d5. I played cd5, and he resigned. I think this is a very clean game. I'm actually very happy with the game. And I'm especially happy because I managed to successfully ignore f5. I wasn't panicking, and I focused on what I was trying to do. So yeah, I'm happy. So now, after 11 games, I'm finally moving up the ranks. And yeah, hopefully I get to challenge someone else. I'm going to send another challenge today once I finish something I have to do. And yeah, I played like 7 or 8 games in a row with black. So now finally I wanna play some games with white. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. Join Lichessladders. The link is below. It's completely free and very fun. And yeah, stay tuned for more chess. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.